All right, we are now joined on the Soccer Hour by Jason Longshore, who is the radio color commentator for Atlanta United, who, of course, the Earthquakes will be going up against in Game 1 of the season on Saturday. Jason, what's going on, man? Long time no see. How you doing?
Yeah, doing good. Excited for this. This is always a crazy match, and I'm expecting the same on Saturday.
Yes, I am as well. And it's just wild to think about how long it's been since these two teams have played each other, because the first three meetings were so very entertaining, and now we've had to wait a little bit a little longer, but I think it'll be worth the wait. Just what is the 30,000-foot view of the franchise in light of offseason changes like Joseph Martinez out and Garth Lagerwey in, and then with the fact that I think people expected Atlanta to be a dominant franchise after winning the title in year number 2, but it hasn't quite gone that way.
Yeah, it's been a wild ride over the last few years. I mean, you go back to coming off of 2019, which I think the narrative has kind of shifted. 2019, Atlanta United won 2 trophies, one of them the Campeones Cup, but it's still a win in a trophy that hadn't been won by an MLS team before. They won the Open Cup that year. They were 1 goal away from going back to MLS Cup and hosting it against Seattle. 2019 was a very good year. 2020, you go in and you lose Joseph Martinez to an ACL injury in Game 1 pre-COVID. Then you have to deal with everything with COVID. And 2020 is a wash. You don't make the playoffs. 2021, Gabriel Heinze doesn't work out. And Heinze was somebody that everybody thought would be the next big young coach in Major League Soccer. And it didn't work, and it just didn't fit. He didn't adjust well to the league. I don't know if he ever really won the team over, won the locker room over. Gonzalo Pineda comes in from Seattle, and Atlanta United in the second half of 21 was right there with New England, who won the Supporter Shield, and with Vancouver, who had a great finish to 21 as the top teams in the league. 22, and this has been the storyline for that season since really early on, injuries. And you just never could get any momentum. I think Pineda was able to field the same starting lineup only 3 games in a row, one time at the very end of the year, where I thought Atlanta was playing pretty well. But you lose Brad Guzan, you lose Miles Robinson, you lose Osvaldo Alonso, who was brought in to bring some leadership. Joseph Martinez has to have a surgical procedure. He's not the same. It takes him a while to get back and be able to contribute. And then he wasn't able to do it as a starter. It was only off the bench. So 2022 was a weird year. So I think the vibe is weird, is the easy way to put it. But I'm hopeful, and we had a chance to talk to Garth Lagerwey yesterday in really his preseason media availability. And it's going to take a minute for this team to gel, I think, because you have a talented attack, but Derek Etienne has been injured for most of the preseason. He played a little bit in St. Louis on Saturday. Yorgos Giacomakis has not played yet. Hopefully the work visa comes through before Saturday. So 2 of your front 4 have either barely been involved or haven't been involved in preseason. They have been scoring goals in preseason, and Luis Araujo has been great. Thiago Almada has been great. But you're going to need to build some chemistry there, and you're also going to need to build some chemistry in the back with Luis Abram recently joining the team. He played in St. Louis after getting his work visa a little bit in the second half. It's unknown if he's going to be ready to go on Saturday from the start or if he'll be available off the bench.
Let's talk about Brad Guzan for a second, because, that was just, if you're a fan of U.S. soccer, you like Brad Guzan. I'll put it that way. Like, the only time I'm not rooting for Brad is if he's going up against the San Jose Earthquakes. But he was, playing in the preseason. Do we know what his status is for Saturday? I mean, when I talked to him, he said there was still some work to do, but this was weeks ago. And he's been, as he put it, medically cleared since mid-September. So do we have an idea of who we expect to start at keeper?
He'll start in goal. I'd be pretty surprised if he doesn't. His recovery has been amazing, honestly. Yeah. I mean, like you said, he was cleared medically pretty early on. It's like they had to hold him back a little bit last year because he bounced back so fast. And if you know Brad, it's not easy to hold him back from something he wants to do. The series that the team has put out on YouTube about his recovery is an amazing watch. I highly recommend it. He's played in preseason, and he's been maybe trying to get that rust knocked off is the biggest thing. I think physically he's fine. It's just trying to get back into a rhythm and get back to where he was before the injury, because physically good, but he hasn't played in a regular season match in a long time.
No, I mean that was what, April 16th last year, so it's been a while. And then, that's what we talked about last year with Atlanta. Guzan goes down and Miles Robinson as well. Like having, and that's not even all the major injuries that were suffered by the team, but those are two, key players. Is there the sense that if there is more of a little bit of health with luck, or luck with health, that the team will be able to kind of get back to where they think they should be?
That's where I'm at with it, especially on the defensive side, because you look at some of the goals that were conceded last year and a lot of individual mistakes, a lot of communication issues. And when you lose the goalkeeper, you lose a center back, both fullbacks were out for a period of time. Then both of the replacement fullbacks were out for a period of time. So it's just a chaotic situation trying to organize a defense, holding midfielders out too. So, I mean, everybody in on the defensive side was out for a long period of time last year. So you've got to build that continuity. And that was the biggest thing lacking in 2022. And if you get that, and you would expect to, I mean, luck is part of it. It's injuries, especially the ones that Atlanta suffered, whether it's the Achilles ruptures or Brooks Lennon slipping on a mat in Toronto that was on the side of the field and hurting his knee. You would expect that's not going to continue. So fingers crossed.
Yeah, that would be a weird one to see happen again. Let me ask you about Thiago Almada, because I think people are looking at him as being the next great 10 or Argentinian 10 in Major League Soccer. Is he ready to take that step? Like, I feel like with what we've seen, it's that we can all see the ability, but at the same time, making that translate, especially at such a young age, into being that much of an impact player. Is it too much pressure, or do you think these are valid expectations and hopes that are being placed on him?
I think they're valid expectations. And I thought the second half of last year, Thiago Almada was possibly the best player in the league. It took him a while to get there. And, I'll go back to something that Diego Maradona said in the great documentary that was on HBO about him, about his adjustment to Serie A, and how when you go to a different league, it's just everything is so different in the way the game is played. It's the same sport, but it's very different league to league. The Argentine league to MLS, very different. And I think it took Thiago Almada about half the season to kind of recalibrate and figure out how to play his best in MLS. Once he did, he was scoring clutch goals, creating big chances. I thought he had a great second half of the season. And that's what got him the call up when injuries happened for Argentina and he goes to the World Cup. So you take that and you add a World Cup winners medal, and then he comes back in 23 to Atlanta. He's going to be playing with even more confidence, I think, to start the year. He's had a great preseason so far, and sky's the limit for him.
Where does success hinge for Atlanta, in your opinion?
I really think it's the defensive side, and I really think it's getting that continuity. Luis Abram comes in after, I thought, a great run at Vélez Sarsfield, and then he went to Spain, and it didn't really click. He was on loan at Cruz Azul last year, and he was okay, but he wasn't at the level he was when he played at Vélez. And if he can get back to that, and also what we've seen with the Peruvian national team, I think Abram is an upgrade on the back line. Miles Robinson, obviously, if he's back to where he was or close, that's an upgrade over what you had last year. I love the fullbacks in this team with Brooks Lennon and Andrew Gutman, and they do very different things on either side. Gutman can kind of tuck in and make more central runs and also kind of help the midfield from time to time. Lennon is your classic attacking right back who's going to get forward and stretch the field. So if you can have that group, and Juanjo Purata is going to compete with Abram and with Robinson to get games. I think he will get games in this long season, but my guess is the back four is Gutman, Abram, Robinson, Lennon. And if they can build some continuity and build some chemistry along with Brad Guzan in goal, I like where this team can go. If that doesn't happen, they're going to have to win a lot of shootouts.
What is your perspective on where San Jose is right now?
I'm very intrigued because I think coming into the year, both teams kind of have the same similar storyline going into game one. I really like the attacking quartet for each team. I love the varied talent in it. I do have some questions on the left side for San Jose. Is it going to be Cowell? Is it going to be Kikanovic? But Abobasi having a career year last year. Christian Espinosa has been one of my favorite players in the league for a few years now. Jamiro Montero is highly underrated, and he's a guy who can play the 10, but seeing him in Philadelphia so many times against Atlanta, he can also be kind of a destroyer a little bit in the press. And if Luchi Gonzalez kind of has him play that role, he'll be very disruptive to Atlanta United. But the back line for San Jose, and that's the question. Jonathan Mensah coming in after the injury, the fullbacks, who are they going to be? You know, what does that look like? And goalkeeper, I think, is a question too. So attack, I love for the Quakes. The back line and goalkeeper, some questions about what that looks like.
I think it's funny that you bring up Montero because literally everyone that I've talked to in the East that is not Philadelphia had the same exchange, which was thank God that guy's out of the East. Like take him in the West, let them have fun with that guy because he's not. It's not like he's going to blow you away with his production, even though he's got big goals this year. He wants to go 10 and 10. He wants to be double digits in both goals and assists. But his work rate all over the pitch is phenomenal. Like that, people don't recognize that, I think, enough.
Yeah, with Philly, I think in that diamond midfield, you know, and a lot of times it would kind of mutate into a box or whatever. Montero could play the 10, which with Philadelphia really played more like an 8. He could play deeper in the midfield as well because he's so good defensively, but he can create those chances. So I think he's a really good fit for the midfield with Grueso, with Yule, because honestly, those three are very interchangeable. And I would expect as they build some chemistry, you know, you're going to see at times Grueso go on a run, Yule sit, Montero sit a little bit. Montero might cover for Yule going forward to pick out that pass. So that midfield trio, if they can get the rotations, that's going to be one of the better ones in the West.
How are you handicapping the East right now? Is everyone chasing Philadelphia, or are you looking at some other teams and thinking like, hey, let's look at other teams and other squads that have suddenly built themselves back up?
I think it's Philly and everybody else to start the year. Now, we know that always changes, whether it's injuries, whether it's loss of form, or you know, whatever happens, transfers, all kinds of stuff will happen as the year goes on. But Philly was so good last year, and they're so disruptive to other teams. It's a tough matchup when you go in and you're playing a possession-based team the week before, and then you have to kind of flip the script and go against Philly, who does not really want the ball. They want to press you. The good thing in the East now, though, is those number of pressing teams is starting to go up. So Philly's not as much of an outlier in terms of the way they play. It was almost in college football when you'd go up against the triple option team after playing like normal offenses for a period of time. It's such an adjustment that I think Philly's been able to, on top of having great talent, take advantage of that. And they've added pieces this year. I think they've added depth and they've gotten even better. Orlando's a team to watch too.
Yeah.
You know, they had a lot of big additions. It's always, how does it come together? How long does it take? But I really like some of the additions that Orlando made. And this feels a little bit like the all-in year for them.
Jason, we're just about out of time, but where can people find you and your work?
I'm at Longshore on social media, also with 92.9 The Game. We'll have the call for Saturday and all season long. If you're watching the early games out west and you want to listen to us in the home games when we're at Mercedes-Benz Stadium, you can click on that on Apple. Mike Conti and I get a little rowdy in the booth from time to time, but it's a lot of fun covering this team, and can't wait for season 7 for us.
Always a pleasure, Jason. We'll do it again soon. All right, man?
Thanks for having me on.
Boom. We will end it there. Thank you, man. Let me
stop
recording.